Welcome back to Undercover Waterproofing and Underpinning Secrets. This is the deep dive from DGI Waterproofing that takes you right beneath the surface of your home's foundation.
And if you were with us for our last session on the home inspection blueprint, you know we're all about being prepared. But today, we're talking about that moment. That moment where you find it, that crack in your basement wall.
Oh, that is a horrible feeling. It's just pure anxiety. Your heart skips a beat, and your mind immediately goes to the worst-case scenario.
Yeah.
Is my house failing?
Especially here in the Toronto area, the soil, the weather, it's a legitimate concern.
For sure. So our mission today is really to cut through that panic. We want to give you the tools to move from just guessing to actually knowing what you're looking at.
Exactly. When we get a call at DGI, the very first question we're trying to answer is a simple one. Is this crack here because the concrete is drying? Or is it here because the house is moving?
Drying versus movement.
That's the whole ballgame. That distinction tells us the threat level to your home's stability.
Okay, but that brings up a good question right away. If some cracks are just from drying, in normal process, why bother fixing a tiny hairline crack at all? If it's not structural, isn't that overkill?
That's a great point, and we get that question a lot. Look, a structural crack is a threat to stability for sure, but here's the absolute truth. Every single crack is a potential highway for water.
Right.
And even a tiny non-structural crack that's an open door for moisture. And in our climate, you know what water leads to. It always leads to bigger, way more expensive problems. Our focus is always prevention first.
Okay, so let's use that framework. Let's start with the good news. The monitor, don't panic category. What are these non-structural cracks?
The most common one by far is just concrete shrinkage and curing. When we pour a foundation, it's full of water. As that water evaporates and the concrete dries, it contracts. It shrinks.
Because it's just physics, especially in a new home, right? Like in the first year or so.
That's exactly right. You also get some minor cracks from just minor settlement. The house sort of settles into its final resting place right after it's built.
And what about our lovely Toronto weather?
Well, that's the other big one. The temperature and moisture fluctuations. The deep freeze in winter, the heat in summer. That constant expansion and contraction puts stress on the materials. It can create tiny new cracks or widen ones that were already there.
That nonstop push and pull has to take a toll.
It does. I mean, there are other subtle things too, like creep damage, which is super slow deformation over decades from the weight of the house, or even tree roots sucking moisture out of the soil nearby.
Okay, so for the homeowner standing in their basement right now looking at a crack, what are the visual signs that say, okay, breathe, this is probably non-structural? What's on that checklist?
First thing is size. Look at the size. A non-structural crack is typically just a hairline. We say no more than 1/8 of an inch wide.
1/8 of an inch, so like the thickness of a nickel.
Perfect benchmark, yep. If a nickel can't fit inside, that's a good first sign. Second, look at the pattern.
Okay.
Most of these shrinkage cracks are vertical, just straight up and down. That's the classic signature of concrete drying in a poured foundation.
Thin and vertical. Got it. What else?
Stability. This is a big one. Has it changed? A non-structural crack usually forms and then it just stops. It stays the same size for months, even years.
So if it's not growing, it's likely just a shrinkage issue that needs to be sealed, not structurally reinforced.
You got it. And finally, look at the location. They're often isolated to just one spot. Maybe one concrete block, or you'll see them near the corners of windows where there's a little bit of framing stress.
That's super useful. Okay, let's shift gears now to the ones that do demand that immediate attention. Let's get into the red alert zone, structural cracks.
Right. When we talk about structural cracks, we are talking about active, ongoing movement. And the causes we see here at DGI are almost always tied to our specific soil, our water issues, and our climate.
You hear a term like differential settlement. You just picture your house sliding into a hole.
Yeah, and we need to talk people off that ledge, but the urgency is real. Differential settlement is the big one. It just means the foundation is settling unevenly.
Because one part of the ground is weaker or wetter than the other?
Exactly. And that puts incredible uneven stress on the structure. This is often tied to our expansive clay soil here.
Right, the clay that soaks up water and just swells.
It just balloons, yeah. It exerts this enormous sideways or lateral pressure against the basement walls, literally trying to push them inward.
And then there's the big one for Toronto. Frost heave.
Frost heave. We see the damage from this every single year.
You see it on the roads everywhere.
You do. And in your foundation, when that moisture in the soil freezes, It expands with incredible force. It pushes upward. And if your home's footing isn't below that frost line, it can actually lift parts of your foundation unevenly.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk visuals. What are the warning signs that scream, this is a serious structural problem?
First, they're almost always wider than 1/8 of an inch. Often you'll see a crack that's wider at one end than the other, which immediately tells you there's uneven movement. But the pattern is everything.
So what are the red flags, the patterns everyone needs to have memorized?
There are 3 big ones. Red flag number 1, horizontal cracks, running parallel with the floor.
Okay, horizontal.
If you see a horizontal crack, it is almost always structural. It's caused by that massive external pressure from soil or frost pushing the wall inward. It means the wall is starting to bow.
The wall is losing the battle with the soil outside.
It's losing, correct. Red flag number 2. Stair-step cracks. You'll see this in concrete block or brick walls. The crack zigzags up following the mortar joints.
So it looks like a set of stairs.
Yep. And that is a dead giveaway for severe settlement. It means one section of the wall is literally shearing away or sinking faster than the section right next to it.
That sounds violent for the structure.
The stress is incredible. And red flag number 3, large diagonal cracks, usually at a steep angle, like 45 degrees or more. This also points to a section of the foundation sinking or dropping.
And I guess the most critical sign of all, no matter the pattern, is that it's changing.
Absolutely. The number 1 sign of a structural problem is a crack that is visibly getting wider or longer over time. If you see that, or you see other signs like doors sticking upstairs or drywall cracks, you need a professional assessment.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Okay, so that leads us perfectly into the practical step, the monitoring test. If a crack isn't an obvious red flag, how does a homeowner go from fear to fact? How do they do this crack monitor test?
Monitoring is so important because, like we said, movement is the key. A non-structural crack forms and then it stabilizes. A structural crack just keeps getting worse.
So how do you do it? Do you need special gear?
Not at all. It's really simple. Take a pencil and just mark the very ends of the crack. Write the date right there on the wall, measure the width, and write that down too. Then, for an easy active monitor, take a piece of clear tape. Just cheap packing tape is fine. Stretch it tight across the crack. If that tape tears or wrinkles over a few months,
You've got movement.
you have active movement, it's confirmed, and that tear instantly moves it from a what if to a we need to act.
And you need to do this over a few seasons, I imagine, to really know.
Ideally, yes. But let's talk about delaying repair for any crack, even if it seems stable, because of the water.
The water threat, it always comes back to water.
Always. An unsealed crack leads to leaks, it leads to mold. But the real monster here is the freeze-thaw cycle. I've seen homeowners patch a hairline crack with some hardware store cement.
Right.
And one Toronto winter later, that patch is blown right off the wall and the crack is 3 times wider. Because water got in behind it, froze, and expanded.
It's the villain in every story. It just turns a small problem into a huge one.
It does. So the mandate is clear. If a crack is wide, horizontal, or stair-stepping, or if your tape test shows it's growing, call us at DGI. Don't try a DIY patch. It just masks the real problem.
Which brings us to the actual repair strategies. Once DGI is on site, it's all about matching the right fix to the problem you've diagnosed.
Exactly. For those stable, non-structural cracks, our goal is just sealing it to prevent leaks permanently. If the crack is dry, we typically use an epoxy injection.
Right.
It's a low-cost, rigid resin that we inject, and it creates a bond that's literally stronger than the concrete around it.
But what if the crack is actually wet? I've seen that, a little trickle of water coming through.
Yeah.
Epoxy won't work then, right?
Correct. It won't adhere properly. For a wet, leaking, non-structural crack, we use a polyurethane foam injection. This foam is amazing. It reacts with the water, expands to like 10 times its volume, and creates this flexible, powerful, waterproof seal.
And that flexibility is key for our climate, for the minor movement.
It's critical. It allows the foundation to shift slightly with the seasons without breaking the seal.
Okay, now for the big guns, the structural fixes. When we know there's active movement, what does that professional playbook look like?
One of the most effective modern solutions is carbon fiber reinforcement. We use these incredibly high-strength carbon fiber straps, apply them with a specialized adhesive right across the crack.
So it's like putting a high-tech brace or an external skeleton on the wall.
That's a great way to think of it. It provides tremendous strength to stop a wall from bowing or cracking any further. For walls that are already leaning inward, we might use wall plate anchors.
How do those work?
We essentially anchor the wall to stable soil far away from the foundation, using a steel plate on the inside and an anchor in the ground outside. Connected by a steel rod, it holds the wall in place.
And what about for that sinking problem, the differential settlement?
That's when we have to go deeper. We use foundation piers. These are steel piers that we drive deep into the ground beneath the troubled foundation until they hit solid bedrock or stable soil strata.
So you're basically building a new, stable foundation underneath the old one.
In essence, yes. It stabilizes the home, and in some cases, we can even lift it back toward its original position. It's a serious engineering solution for a serious problem.
And sometimes, I guess, the problem is just too much water and you have to go outside.
You do. If the hydrostatic pressure is overwhelming, we may need to install or replace the entire exterior drainage system, the weeping tile, the membrane, to get that water away from the foundation in the first place.
This has been, wow, an incredibly clear guide. You've really given our listeners the ability to stop guessing and start knowing the difference between, concrete just curing and a real threat from foundation movement.
And that knowledge is the absolute first step to protecting your home. At DGI Waterproofing, this is the exact process we follow. We do a thorough assessment to find that root cause. Is it soil? Is it water? Is it a structural shift?
And we really want to just eliminate that guesswork and get you to a solution that's tailored for your home and is warranted to last. Before we go, though, there's a final thought I think is really important here.
You might think finding a big structural crack is the scariest thing, and it is scary. But the true danger in this climate is often the small, non-structural crack that you ignore.
Because the water gets in.
Because the water gets in, and that Toronto Freeze-Thaw cycle gets to work. And it will turn that tiny, easy-to-fix problem into a massive, expensive structural emergency down the road. Prevention, sealing that crack now, is always cheaper than a major repair later.
That is a powerful point. The cheap fix now saves the emergency call later. Don't wait. Trust our certified waterproofing contractors at DGI. Give us a call. The number is 647-483-2455.
We believe a strong foundation is the cornerstone of your home's safety and its value.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive on UnderCover, waterproofing and underpinning secrets.